The word freelancer conjures up images of unfurnished apartments, late utility bills, and cup of noodles for dinner. But the truth is, you can make a boatload of money freelancing in fashion, and you can do it without working 80 hours a week. In this video, I'm gonna take you behind the scenes, my $100,000 plus fashion freelance career. I kickstarted it after running my own brand and working as an employee and almost burning out in the industry. Out of sheer desperation to keep doing the work that I loved, I tried freelancing. And I'm not talking about temp job freelancing where you look and act like an employee and then in 3 months when the gig is over, you're basically unemployed again. I'm talking about true remote freelancing where you work when and where you want with the variety of brands that you choose. And in this video, I'm gonna pull back the curtain and share what types of projects and brands I worked with, the types of rates I charged, and what my workload looked like. Make sure to watch to the end where I'm gonna share my top 3 strategies to reach 6 figures without working myself to death. Also, in case you're wondering, I'm not some unicorn. I personally know tons of freelancers who've had similar success, many of whom are students inside my Freelance Accelerator program. Whether you live in the US, live abroad, have 10 or 0 years of experience, went to fashion school, or are self-taught, maybe with some of my free tutorials, you can become a successful fashion freelancer. Oh, and real quick, if we haven't met yet, I'm Heidi. After a decade of freelancing, I now teach aspiring freelancers like you how to kick ass in the fashion industry. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell button to get notified of new videos. Now, let's take a look at my $100,000 plus freelance career in the fashion industry. I freelanced for over a decade, so this is gonna be a look at what my average year looked like once I got my footing. Because full transparency, my career did not start out that smooth. I started freelancing back in 2009 before there were so many courses online and tons of free knowledge on the internet. I figured it all out on my own, and the beginning was a little rocky. Like, when I say rocky, I mean, in my first year, I literally earned $0. But once I figured things out, my growth went like this, which is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about teaching you all the strategies and hard lessons I learned so you can do it right the first time. Now, I know tons of successful fashion freelancers who have a variety of work setups. Some work with tons of smaller brands and smaller projects, and some have just a couple of really big clients. There's no one formula to do this, so take my story as inspiration and let me tell you how I built my $100,000 plus freelance career in the fashion industry. We'll start with my client and project list. In any given year, I had about 3 base clients that I worked with on a regular basis. Each of these clients paid between about $20,000 and $30,000 a year for my services. I had these set up as a retainer type of situation where they would pay me a set rate and in return, I would deliver a set amount of work. These large base clients were always big ongoing projects where I would manage, let's say 2 full collections a year from design through development. Beyond that, I also did some add-on projects for these clients, things like photo shoot coordination and management or catalog layout, and any one of these brought in an extra $5,000 to $10,000 per project. With these 3 base clients plus the add-on projects, we're already at a solid $90,000 a year. But I never wanted to be in a position where if I lost one client, I would lose 1/3 of my income. That feels really risky. Big clients can be awesome, but you can also have all your eggs in one basket, so you have to be careful. There were times when I did lose one of these big clients. Budgets get cut, things happen, but I always had a reserve of smaller clients to help offset things. I also knew the strategies to get more work really easily, so it was never as scary as like losing your entire job. So beyond these 3 base clients, I typically worked with maybe about 5 smaller project-based clients throughout the year. These would range anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 each. When I say project-based, I mean I would work on things that had a clear beginning and end, typically somewhere between 2 to 6 weeks long. These projects usually consisted of individual portions of the process, such as design and inspiration and trend, or exclusively tech packs, or exclusively sourcing and product development. I highlight this because one of the common misconceptions in fashion as a freelancer is that you have to know the whole process from start to finish. Pro tip, you don't. You can do individual parts of the process like I did for some of these project-based clients. We have tons of students inside our Freelance Accelerator program that offer really specific services like exclusively drawing fashion flats or exclusively doing tech packs or only doing pattern making. That's the benefit of being a freelancer. You can pick and choose what you do or don't want to do. All right, so back to these 5 smaller clients. Between those projects, we add another $30,000 to $40,000 in income. Combine this with the $90,000 from the 3 base clients, and we're looking at about $120,000, $25,000 to $130,000 a year. Oh, and if you're curious what your earning potential is as a freelancer, grab my free cash calculator. It's a really fun tool. You just input 2 numbers and it'll tell you how much you can earn. I guarantee it's higher than you think. So I was working with about 8 clients a year, making about $120,000, $130,000. And I had some big clients and big projects. As I mentioned earlier, I know freelancers who work with a ton of small projects, a $500 project here, a $1,000 project there. So there's not one cut way to do it. I happen to work with fewer clients and larger budgets. But no matter how you dice it, you might be wondering, how does this fit into life? What does the workload of this look like? Well, I'm going to tell you, it was not nearly as much as you think. First, I got really good at what I did. Now, I wasn't some massive expert. I had less than 2 years of industry experience before I broke off as a freelancer. I also did not go to fashion school. What I did do was focus on the thing that I did best. I knew my market well and I stayed within that space. I didn't take on projects outside of my expertise or projects that just didn't feel good. And that allowed me to work really efficiently and really quickly. And since I was passionate about the work that I was doing, it just came naturally. Staying in that focused category was so much easier than jumping around to a bunch of different products all the time. Second, I also invested in some help. After I broke 6 figures, I outsourced fashion flats and tech packs. It just wasn't cost effective for me to do that work, and I preferred to have my time back. So I hired other freelancers to do those tasks for me so I could focus on seeing the big picture of the project and managing my clients. In any given year, I probably invested about $10,000 to $15,000 in other freelancers, which still left me at a comfortable $110,000 to $120,000 of income. But what did my actual workload look like? Obviously, it varied. In a given week, I probably worked 25 to 35 hours. Some weeks during tight deadlines or peak development season, I'd put in 40 to 50 hours a week and stay up late working into the evening. But sometimes between collection design or waiting for samples, I would only put in 10 to 15 hours a week or take a vacation and shut off for an entire week or just check my email once in the morning and put in an hour a day. So there was a lot of time where I had flexibility to take time off. This is where there's a really big shift between being an exhausted employee and a successful fashion freelancer. As a freelancer, I never slaved away 70 to 80 hours a week, feeling chained to my desk. I got rid of the constant anxiety, the continual late nights and clocking in on the weekends, all for a measly $22,000 a year. Yes, that was my salary when I worked as an employee. I got rid of all that as a freelancer. If I did put in extra hours for clients or deadlines, I had bid that into the project because I learned how to price and strategize. Not to say that there wasn't a serious learning curve to figuring out the nuances to that, but I did figure out how to make sure I was getting compensated fairly for all the time I invested. If all of this sounds good, I want you to know that you can do it too. Don't let my $100,000 plus year income scare you away. I didn't start there, and most freelancers don't, but I want to show you the potential that you have. If you want to escape the exhausted employee rat race and kickstart your career as a successful fashion freelancer, I'll teach you how in my free training, 1 week to 1K. You'll learn the 5 simple steps to start finding clients and making money, even without a network or business skills. Tap the button on the video to get free limited time instant access or click the link below. Now, as I promised, I'm gonna share the 3 big strategies that I use to create this dreamy career as a freelance fashion designer while making a very fair wage, all while working about 25 to 35 hours a week. These are the 3 strategies that worked for me. 1, value-based pricing. This is where you price based on the value of the project, not an hourly rate. Now, very fair warning on this. It is so much more advanced than hourly pricing, and it is really easy to mess up in the beginning. There is a learning curve to this. I actually don't suggest you start here. I suggest starting with hourly, getting your feet wet, learning, and then moving to value-based project pricing. But this is a strategy you can use to really skyrocket your income. Number 2, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but staying focused and staying niche on my market and what I knew. I started my freelance career doing work exclusively in the golf and lifestyle industry. I slowly expanded into some activewear and to some light outerwear categories, but there was always crossover in the fabric and the construction techniques. I also always said no to PITA clients, pain in the ass clients. They suck your time and energy and just aren't worth it. If I got a bad feeling, I said no thank you. And 3, I worked to maintain relationships that I built with clients and other people I met. I didn't do any crazy networking. I wasn't constantly present at industry events, but I just focused on staying in touch, building relationships, asking for ongoing projects, and asking for referrals. There are simple strategies and ways you could do this really gracefully that almost guarantees you're gonna get more work. I go into more detail in my free limited time training, 1 week to 1K. So check that out if you're feeling a little bit unsure or overwhelmed about where to start. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Heidi, and I really am stoked to share with you all the knowledge about becoming a successful fashion freelancer that you don't learn in fashion school and that other experts don't share. Check out all my free resources below, and if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe. And I'd be so curious to know, what did you find most surprising or most interesting about my $100,000 career? Let me know below in the comments. Oh, and real quick, if we haven't met yet, I'm Heidi, and what else am I saying? At between 5 to, I don't like that, it's a little clunky. And it'll spit up. It's a really simple, fun tool. You input I'm flubbing on this one. Okay. Now, as I promised, I'm gonna share the 3,